Hey guys, Infidel 1258 here. Today I watched the whole town hall. I was there just a few minutes behind the live event, and it was a good one. There was quite a big important topics being tackled in today's town hall, and this is something that I used to do more regularly, but today I'm actually going to go through the content and I'm going to try and summarize in a fairly rapid, but also in-depth manner what was really important. What were the key takeaways from today's town hall? And so I hope you'll stick around and listen to my 4 key things from the Splinterlands Town Hall that I think you really do not want to miss. But before we get into any of that, my name is Dwayne Cunningham and I go by Infidel 1258, but you can just call me 12. And on this channel, we cover Splinterlands all day, every day, because it's changed my life, and I think it could change yours. And one more thing before we get into the town hall stuff, you'd be aware that those proposals came through, the proposals that were so controversial and at least early on here, and it's not so early on. I mean, millions and millions of SPSs voted already, and as you can see, there's a lot of red on the screen here. I've downvoted for both of these. I talked about my in-depth reasons why I was downvoting these. I don't see the logical connection between. Suffice it to say, I don't think these techniques or approaches to bringing DEC to PEG are more positive than negative. That's maybe the most concise way that I can say that. So I'm downvoting on both of them. I don't want validator nodes or Rift Watcher packs selling for DEC peg value. Not at this time. Therefore, I'm downvoting. But if you disagree with me, go in and vote with your DEC or your SPS and make sure your voice is heard, because this is obviously a contentious point that our community has really been upset about. At least that's what I've seen. So get in there and vote. So the town hall. So the first thing is that Lux Vega is going to be coming out really soon. We were told that Lux Vega would be out. We were not given a specific date, but we were told that Lux Vega would be out. We were told that Lux Vega would be out probably next week. So it's October 31st, Monday, which probably means, pretty well 10 days from now kind of thing, right? It's a full 6 days left in this week. So if we said 10 days, I think that's probably logical. I think that's probably expected. And it sounded quite confident that was going to be the case. So probably November 9th, 10th, 11th, somewhere in there, we can be expecting Lux Vega to be released. And this is super important stuff, guys. This is me trying not to bury the lead. This is one of the most important things I took away from the town hall. They are going to accept DEC only. You are going to be eligible for discounts if you use vouchers, up to a 50% discount on your Lux Vega, which is huge. I'm not sure if that has driven up the price of vouchers this morning, but I wouldn't be surprised. Not to mention DEC. DEC's been pumping already, just like on the back of these conversations around the importance of getting DEC up. It seems to me that DEC is pumping on that alone. That's my thing. Just let DEC do its thing. It'll get there. That's my opinion. Okay. So, not only is it DEC only, not only is there a 50% possible discount available to you when buying your Lux Vega using vouchers, which is amazing. You definitely want to take advantage of that. Vouchers are currently selling for about 24 cents. I just saw on the Hive Engine. And they've said that they're going to allow like $1 sort of exchange rate on that. And so I believe it's $1,000 for the regular foil Lux Vega. So you might be able to spend 500 vouchers. How many do I have? 500 vouchers at $1 each, quote unquote $1 each, right? That's that peg value they're trying to implement, and they haven't really said that they're doing a specific peg value. They haven't. They've said that their intention with vouchers is to give something like this. This is a key point. With vouchers and all the sales moving forward, they've said that they want to allow vouchers to represent a discount, a 50% discount. Matt said 50% discount using vouchers will be fairly standard in the future on all previous next sales to come, promos to come. So that to me is more evidence that 23-cent vouchers is ridiculous. And it's probably a good long-term hold. But here's the thing. They bleed out between these sales, right? This is a thing that will probably pump over the next week because of the excitement around Lux Vega growing in the next coming days. As like I said, it's about 10 days away. I bet if we watch this video and between now and next week when Lux launches, I bet you find, at least a 10% to a 30% kind of pump on voucher pricing. Maybe I'm wrong. Don't take that as financial advice, but that's my expectation, because you're going to save you're going to save up to, half price on Vega using vouchers that cost 25 cents. And they allege that they said, they didn't quote this. They didn't say that this was for certain, but they said probably $1 per voucher. And they did specifically say 50% discount. So what does that mean? How many vouchers are you allowed to use? Is it 500 vouchers? Is it 250 vouchers at $2 value? I'm not sure, but we know it'll be a 50% discount, and we believe it'll be $1 per voucher. That's super important because it speaks to when's Lux Vega out. It speaks to how, we got to think then how it's going to affect the meta, because I think it's going to affect the meta. I don't want to get into that conversation here, but definitely she's that good. And then the DEC peg value is being honored here with 1,000 to equaling $1. That's huge for DEC value. And then also voucher value being kind of respected and honored through an attempted peg. And then just that general assurance that 50% discounts will be fairly standard in the future was super important to hear. And I don't know how well that would be featured by Splinterlands in their post. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I didn't read, but that's one of those things I know you need to hear. And then there was stuff about Rooney. Rooney's been a relative success. I've been really in here. I don't know. Every day I've been in here. I don't know about you guys. I'm not necessarily buying a ton. I have now sold 2 of my Rooneys. I'm now down to 1 Rooney. This is my favorite Rooney of all the 3 Rooneys I had. I really like the other one I had with the blue background. If you watch my channel often, there was a second one I used to have. There it is, 1592. So this used to be mine. I did sell it, and I only sold it for 0.45 ETH, which is far less than I was asking for it. Because I just don't love this one. I love that blue. I really love it, but that's all that I love. Everything else about it, I'm really ambivalent about, including this pearl, which I really dislike. So sold it, but Rooney's have been a real success, I would say. We were on top 2 of all the projects on here for the first couple days. Mind you, there was 1,700 of us that rushed out and bought our Rooneys from the white sale list. So that was a focused kind of purchase time, which drove us onto the board, and we rapidly fell away because there isn't so much volume with our project as there is with some of these other ones. Nevertheless, November 3rd, we're going public, and there will be more purchases. There will be more minting, even if it's coming from our internal community. I personally would love to mint 1 or 2 more just to get that likelihood of, some of these crazy, what I was looking at, I'd love to see a gold foil, right? That the gold foils pretty well start at 5 ETH. So if you get a 2% chance on that, wow, there's a real opportunity. That's a decent opportunity right there, I would argue. But then, and just look at this. Let's just quickly look. Gold foils. And we go buy now. From the buy now section of the 3.6 ETH is the cheapest. I would argue that's a pretty darn good deal. 3.6 ETH, the guy paid $500 for it, and now he's going to theoretically unload that puppy for $6,000 or something like that. And I think, that has a reasonable possibility of selling when you compare it to these guys being what they are. So anyways, plus it's kind of cool looking. So I definitely want to get another one. I think the overall sentiment is that Rooney has been really successful. I think it's drawn a lot of attention from our community, which is great, even if it hasn't necessarily attracted a ton of attention from other communities. But I do like that it's cross-platform. I do like that it's creating possibly some new opportunity for new eyes to look. Whether a ton of them stick around, I don't know. It's too early for that to say. November 3rd will be an interesting moment for us to assess again how well it's been. But I liked today that they talked about Rooney, and they talked about how kind of the perception of success around it. I agree. It's got my attention is part of my point here. I've really been focused every single day. I sold a couple. I'm looking for deals. I'm constantly asking like which ones are a decent deal. Could I put in an offer? So I'm excited, and I know many of you are too. So I think that bodes well for us seeing more of it. Plus, other big news around Rooney. They said that they were going to do this. Rooney is going to quote be a, how did they say it? It's going to enable, quote, access. It's be your access pass for future promotions. That's what they said. That was from Matt, but then Aggie shadowed or mirrored that comment later. And so they absolutely have intentions for the Rooney to represent tons of bonuses. I think that was the quote also. They talked about TD implications, tower defense. They talked about land implications. They talked about airdrops for this card. They talked about one being almost necessary. They talked about multiple increasing your potential benefit. They talked about building more and more value into the holding of the Rooney, because it's such a special opportunity for us to cross-platform promote. And if we can make this one successful, that will bode well for future sort of cross-platform success and cards and adoption from other communities. Matt likened Rooney to Rooney on being on Ethereum to those Ethereum and Solana, which he answered a question saying he'd be willing to put one of these types of cards on Solana. He said those other blockchains are kind of like different stores with different shoppers, and he wants to have access to that audience. And I like that thinking, especially since it represents a unique benefit to us, both from a utility standpoint. The card is good, you can use it to win, but also from the investment standpoint, because it attracts maybe a different audience. And then all of these subsequent yet to come benefits and bonuses that might be associated, this quote unquote access pass for future promotions, is exciting because I trust the team. And two, I think that'll come to fruition. We've seen that sort of thing come to fruition before, whether it's with the SPS governance and how that was promised so long ago, whether it's the SPS DAO and they put millions of dollars into it and now it's actually becoming ours to then oversee. I trust them and I look forward to seeing that grow. So it makes me really eager to buy more. I definitely want more than one. And yet I don't necessarily want to buy any that are on the market right this second for the prices I'm seeing. I don't know what I think is going to happen with the Rooney prices, but I feel reluctant to pull the trigger on some of these, knowing that on November 3rd I can mint my own and maybe get one of those gold foils, maybe get some sort of, really rare, unique, beautiful creation. So Rooney was talked about and celebrated, I would argue, and I really enjoyed that part because I've been enjoying Rooney. We talked more about Chaos Legion pack burning, and the tone of that conversation was really, this is pretty well going to happen. That's what I heard. Now I know I get the feeling this is going to be a proposal, right? But the way Agrid spoke about it was like they've already they feel they've heard the answer from us. And they did try to explain and delineate the fact that the SPS proposals and governance is specifically and directly over the DAO and over things like vouchers and SPS, because it literally controls those things. With things like Chaos Legion, which aren't necessarily wrapped into that, there's this second layer of governance, which is the centralized authority of Splinterlands team, like Yaba and Agrod. And they are going to, from time to time, make proposals such as burning Chaos Legion packs, which will be informed by our voting on the SPS through the SPS governance. But it isn't exactly, if it passes, it's instantly implemented by the validator node operators. That's not how some of this will work. There's going to be this kind of partnership moving forward. And this was one of the second point that I really wanted to articulate for you guys. I'm not sure everyone understands SPS governance and the future of decentralization within Splinterlands. And this is one of the key things, this idea that there are going to be some proposals that will just be automated. Once they're proposed and passed, they'll be automated, because like if we ever decide to burn the SPS in the DAO, that would just be, that wouldn't require Yaba or Matt's kind of execution, because they don't hold that. The SPS is inside the DAO, and the validator nodes, through our support and voting, will have the authority to conceivably perform that sort of action. And so there's that level of governance that's totally autonomous, like through our votes, or at least will be totally autonomous through our voting. But then there's this separate level of governance that will always hold some degree of involvement from the Splinterlands team, Because, for instance, if we ever agreed we want to burn half the Chaos Legion packs or 25,000 per day, that's going to come through a vote. And staked weighted voting through SPS is going to inform whether that happens or not. But then if we say, 80% of us say yes to burning 25,000 Chaos Legion packs per day for, the next 3 or 4 months, that can't be executed in the same fashion, because there are no Chaos Legion packs inside the DAO. There's no account being held by the DAO. Those are assets in the possession of Splinterlands, and then they would take that proposal into advisement and act accordingly. And on that point, you might say, well, they could just go ahead and say no in certain situations. And the truth is they could. This is an important point I wanted to talk about. We could propose something, and you might not know this, but they were clear in the town hall that we will be able to make proposals in the very near future. And when we get to that place where anyone can propose anything, you'll pay a fee and you'll set up your proposal and it'll get voted for or it won't. Let's say you voted that all Chaos Legion packs be given to one account holder. That proposal could be made, and then a certain amount of people could conceivably vote for it out of some sort of nefarious or a coalition of SPS holders could conceivably vote and try and have that passed in order to split the value amongst themselves, right? That'd be a thing that could be conceivable. But the question is, one, how will our community respond in voting? That's the first level of defense. We can vote no to bad proposals such as that. And the second level of defense is in such proposals where it involves an asset like Chaos Legion that isn't even in the automatic control of that SPS DAO, there would be no way for that authority, that ill-gotten, let's say, authority to make that happen. There would be a proposal, and even if it passed, it'd be like, give all these packs to John Doe, and Matt and Agri would be like, I don't know how that passed, but man, like that, we're not doing that. That's ridiculous. And so you might imagine a situation that would be really good, and we propose something great and they overrule us. That's possible too. And we have to be concerned about that to some extent. But I would argue, and I hope you'll agree, that these guys have been really forthright. They've been open. They've been honorable in their operations so far. And that generally speaking, that is a minimal risk. And what's more, and here's where I want to finish on that topic. The thing is, if you don't trust them, we should leave. You shouldn't play the game if you don't trust the creators of the game. But secondly, the strange thing about this tension of do we trust them or not trust them is it feels as though we are between a rock and a hard place, because some of our community want Matt and Aggro to have even more authority and control things like bots and ban accounts and close off certain people from playing the game because they're taking advantage of the bots, and that's affecting how the reward structure works at a lower level and so on. But then simultaneously, they want them to have less control in which proposals to make and when they say yes or no to a proposal that we want or don't want. And so it's this weird dichotomy of we want them to have ultimate authority in situations where we want them to act, and we want them to have less or no authority in situations where we don't want them to act. And that's obviously nonsense. That's the nature of politics. That's the nature of working in a community of people with a wide variety of opinions. So the long and the short of it is, the DAO, the SPS decentralized governance is going to grow and grow and grow in terms of its reach and the number of proposals. It's going to be taking proposals from our community, which is, I think, great. And we have to ultimately ask ourselves, one, do we trust the generalized, decentralized intelligence of that process? And if you don't, take that into account when you ask yourself the question I always tell you to ask: is this game fun, and does it have a future? That's key. That's core to this idea of, do you trust decentralized governance? I do. I'll be here I'm not going anywhere. It doesn't scare me. I'm excited about it. So we talked about Chaos Legion burning and how it really seems like they're going to make that happen. But also, we talked about decentralized governments and how that speaks into the handling of Chaos Legion, because it isn't exactly the same as, for instance, if we ever said we wanted to burn the SPS in the DAO. That would be automated. Chaos Legion burning it requires 2 agreements: 1, our proposal voting positive for it, and 2, Agrid and Matt agreeing. And then I guess on that note, we can go over to the proposals quickly. Just back to them. I already talked about it briefly, but I personally don't want to vote on this as a positive, that the Rift Watcher packs would be priced in DEC. That would be a discount on the cost of Rift Watcher packs. And it was said in the town hall that a lot of our community doesn't want other people to get discounts we didn't get. That's not where my opinion comes from in this topic. My opinion comes from the fact that the product is so new. Why would we offer a discount to it? It's moving relatively quickly. I don't understand why we would discount an object that is brand new. And it's not so much, hey, I paid more and now I don't want John Doe to pay less. But that was thrown out as I thought, a straw man of some of our position. So I just wanted to articulate that too. So here's a proposal that we are maybe saying no to, it seems like, and time will tell if that stays a negative or a positive. Okay, there's 3 more, maybe 4 more key things here to talk about. Rule sets. This is a quick one. They're going to implement 3 new rule sets. We're going to have Thorns, we're going to have Magic Reflect, and Archery Reflect. Quickly, if you don't already know this, I'm going to show you guys something. There's a Ready to Rumble section over here, and you can learn more about the game. And then many of the rule sets are located in here, right in here. These are, sorry, not rule sets, the abilities. But the abilities are briefly explained, and it was outlined in the town hall that the interplay between these abilities is going to be far more detailed, explained in far greater detail. And I guess that work has been done. I'm not sure where to find it yet, but it's in here somewhere. And if it's not posted yet, it will be. And that's really great, because a lot of the higher level players, even new players who have a real mind for thinking through strategy, want to do that book learning so that they can then implement and think through strategies and understand the game on a deeper level. Things like, how much evasion does dodge provide, does blind provide, or does dodge do? Has an increased chance of evading melee or range attacks. Okay, well, what is that increased percentage? And that sort of detail has been thoroughly explained, and I guess that information is available either now or soon. That was one of the changes that they talked about. They also talked about how they're introducing 3 new rule sets. I quickly mentioned Archery Reflect, Magic Reflect, and Thorns, which will be, I think, cool. It probably will it'll end up looking like if you see a Thorns battle, well, you probably don't want to play melee. Because your opponent is going to have thorns on them. And if you see a Magic Reflect rule set, well, you better be careful about playing your magic, because for the same reason. And so that's interesting though, because it's just another layer of complexity, every single game being different, every sort of moment feeling, just being a bit different and giving you a different look. So that's cool. And then also, there was one more quick thing there. Summoner changes. So when you do a battle right now, you currently pick your summoner, and after you pick your summoner, you can pick monsters within that summoner. So I'm going to go ahead and pick Earth. And then, so look, I pick a team. I kind of like that team, but maybe I decide, wait a second, I kind of want to see what Red's got. And I erase Prince Rin. It's going to actually get rid of all of my team. Are you sure you want to start over? Yes. Now my whole team disappears, and I've got to select a new summoner. In the new rules, in the new way of coding, which is being tested right now, that team won't be deleted. For instance, Almo Cambio, I picked Furious Chicken, which is neutral, and then I picked Almo Cambio, which is neutral. Those didn't have to be deleted, because no matter who I pick, those could have been played still. So your neutrals shouldn't have to be deleted, and the new coding is going to allow that your neutrals will not be deleted if you delete your summoner, because they're going to be playable with the other team. So why does it have to delete Almo Cambio? That'll be a little quality of life improvement that'll be nice when we get to see that opportunity, when we get to see that play through. Okay, we're almost done. Collection power. Remember with the controversial proposal around the cards being, then with you requiring key card levels to play at to get maximum rewards, that proposal is still going forward, and I personally support that one. And they are saying two things important that you probably want to hear about that. They said, one, that's going to better replace what we were hoping for when we ultimately installed the collection power in the first place. And so instead of having this collection power requirement to reach these various levels, the card requirement intrinsic to that proposal makes way more sense, and ultimately targets two things better. One, card upgrades, and two, better players can climb to the highest levels possible if they're capable, if their skill allows. And so Matt specifically said, look, we're going to get rid of collection power, and we're going to use that card idea. And then if you can use the silver deck to climb to champion, go for it. You can and should be allowed to do that, because the card implication is always going to entice you to buy more cards, which is what they want. They want to have that enticement, but they don't want to have a hard barrier where you can't enjoy the game at that level. And so they clearly want to delete collection power altogether in terms of how it limits your league, the leagues you can play within. And that's the first point. And the second point is the card rule, if it gets through, will transform. It will you'll be allowed to climb into higher levels. And here's the point I wanted to make, actually, that if you're playing with silver deck and champion, if you're capable of doing that and the collection power goes away and you're able to do that, he said specifically, you will make more and more and more as you climb, but you'll still make a certain amount less than you optimally could if your deck was fully functional. And that articulation of this proposal should really help some people who are dead set against it to possibly change their mind. I'm going to say it again. If you're playing with a silver deck and champion, and that will be possible because they're going to get rid of collection power, he said you're going to make more and more as you climb higher and higher and higher. You're not going to make less and less, despite this card penalty. You're going to make more and more and more, but you'll just make less than you optimally could have if your cards were perfectly leveled. But if you're winning with the silver deck and champion, you're going to be claiming big rewards. That was so important to say, and I'm glad Matt said it. So that was worth repeating here. That was the third point that I was really needing you guys to hear. What was the other thing here? Oh, this was another quick one. They're going to do a Vegas wrap up soon. So they've got video footage from the event that was shot by the event center. And so there's going to be I'm sure a really professional, exciting summary video that we're going to be able to watch. And I for one, look forward to watching it again. So experiencing it with you guys for seeing it again for the first time, really, because it'll be a wrap up that's presented in a professional manner that will capture a lot of key moments. And I look forward to watching that. So that's coming out soon. I guess the Splinterlands team just got the footage this week, or is getting it really soon. And one last big thing. This was the last topic that I thought you absolutely needed to hear. So 4 key things in this one. That's the key here with this video. There were 4 items that I felt the town hall absolutely nailed, and I feel everyone needed to hear. And this is the 4th and final. So it talked about how first of all, they said land is coming still, probably the layer 1 of land is going to be available within 2022. That's great. So we got 2 months. We're going to be selecting our land plots, maybe opening them, seeing what they're like. Not playing it yet, not staking, not earning anything like that with it, but that level. So that's great. And then they said, when land is live, like it's actually being produced, it's producing assets, it's being farmed, it's actually functional. That's during stage 2 or even beyond. And that's in 2023 for sure. But he said, when land is live, assets will be traded for DC. So remember, every land plot is going to generate a variety of different assets, and you need these assets, these resources, to either make spells or items. And those items or spells are going to influence your battles through, like, once you queue up and you pick your team and you're ready to fight, you look at the battle screen like we're looking at now, and then you'll decide, do I think I'm going to lose? And if I think I'm going to lose, do I want to drop some sort of spell or item to increase my probability of winning? And that is a big change to this game. And those items and spells we haven't understood how those assets would be changed, how they would be sold between one another. The question was asked, look, if I've got wood and you've got stone, am I going to have to go and trade my wood for DEC and then my DEC for your wood as two separate transactions? That sounds onerous. Or am I going to have to go into some pool that is like trading wood for stone, or for that matter, trading, ore for wood, or trading, every single resource with wood, or every other resource with stone? That would be super complicated. There would be limited liquidity in each of those respective pools. It would be difficult to trade. It would be really annoying. So what are we going to do? And he said that DC is going to be the pair, the couple, and behind the scenes, it's going to be utilized to execute that trade. So if you come in and you have wood for trade and you're looking for ore, it'll sell into DC and then immediately complete buying with DC. And so DC being that tether that links it together. Tether is a bad word in our community, but you know what I mean. And that, I think that represents a huge deal for DC utility, and it should lock up liquidity for an already scarce asset. Now, it's not scarce today, but it's theoretically going to become scarce. We're reducing a lot of how we're printing DEC. We already have, and we're going to continue to reduce DEC printing, sounds like. And then we're going to be burning DEC as we reach a peg value, and then SPS people will burn for DEC, and DEC is needed in so many different ways. And it sounds like it's going to be really integral. In fact, Matt said there will be many uses for DEC in land. And there was actually several little throwaway comments about how we might use DEC in this town hall. Like, there really are a lot of proposals for how we can grow what the sort of the functionality of DEC, including possibly somebody threw the question, what about trading our gladiator cards from account to account, but you have to maybe burn DEC to do so? Another great way to sink some of that DEC. Yeah, that sounds cool to me. If that was the only access pass to do so, it would be another way that for sure we would do that. For sure I would do that. For sure you would do that. People would definitely do that. A ton of those gladiator cards are super powerful, and it would open up a whole new marketplace, and it would just be I think a deeply exciting DC burn. So that was all of the stuff, but I don't think that wasn't a big deal. That was a huge deal. That's gonna land is gonna mean a lot for this sort of use case of DEC, and I think for the stability of DEC, and it's also going to make the economy of land work so much more fluid and easily than anyone probably was expecting it to unfold. So I think that's 4 different things. We talked about Lux Vega and discounts around it. We talked about access pass for future promotions, Rooney being the access pass that you're going to have for future promotions. We talked about collection power going away, and that card limiter, that card penalty being like the new kind of alternative, and which is probably in a large improvement for collection away from collection power. And lastly, this issue of land and how DEC will be integral to the economy of land. So 4 amazing things, plus several bonuses in there that we talked about also. So I hope you found that one interesting. And guys, I just want to thank you again for hanging out with the channel, for supporting me, for watching these, for thumbs up. If you're watching right now and you haven't yet, please like and subscribe, and have an amazing day. God bless.